Hey, welcome everybody to the 7 Minutes to Better Selling podcast. I'm your host and also the president and founder of Developing the Next Leaders. As many of you know who are return visitors to the show, our firm and I am on this mission of helping salespeople love what they do for a living. And when you're not very good at something or you're not doing something at your peak of expected performance, it's hard to like it, let alone love it. And so our job is we work with individuals, leaders, teams, and organizations in the sales world, helping them love what they do by improving every day. So from a logistics perspective, our title says we're the 7 Minutes to Better Selling podcast, but typically we're around 7 to 12 minutes. This show is an exciting one. We have the show Ninja on with me, Simon. Simon's kind of like Madonna or Pele, just needs one name. He is the best of the best on with me for today. And we're going to talk about the best of the best ideas over the last couple of shows that we've spent together. And so I'm really, really excited about what we're going to do for all of you in the next, say, maybe 9 minutes or so from now. All right. So Simon, are you
Hi,
ready?
Colin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And by the way, I'd like everyone to notice the beautiful shirt that Simon has on today. Yeah,
Yeah,
baby, there's some
I've
swag.
come branded. I've come branded on your show.
There's the swag. So you can get one of those, but you have to kill someone in order to get one. That's the only way to get it.
Yeah. So, Colin, right? I've been watching your podcast. Right, this is a podcast number 29. You have had some great episodes in the past, right? But I you get to ask a lot of tough questions to your guests, right? So we're gonna flip sides today. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat, and let's do something different in this episode. I'm gonna ask you some tough questions. Okay? I'm so ready for that.
I love it.
And Colin, mark it. You only have 90 seconds to answer each question, and you have to be short, fast, and very precise. Okay, let's get started, Colin. Here's your very first question coming up. What do you do when the market is down?
That is going to be a timely one, or that's a really, really timely one, because almost every market we look at is in fact down. I'll point to episode, I think it was 23. We had Mahesh on there. Mahesh is this. There you go. There's Mahesh. Mahesh is a serial entrepreneur. He is leading the charge in terms of like innovation in multiple different markets. Now in the Bitcoin or crypto market. Like, he's done some great things there. He's really, really an intelligent guy. And the thing that he said, Simon, that I think answers that question as simply as possible is, when the market is down, you have to be innovative.
Yeah.
In other words, you got to change. You got to do something different. You got to do something that everyone else isn't doing. Everyone else is like kind of like pulling back. Everyone else is tightening the strings. And what Mahesh said is, you've got to figure out a way to innovate, be a little bit smarter, be a lot different, and you will succeed and grow through the tough market.
100%, Colin. And for folks who don't know, Mahesh is also my boss. And one thing that he also says that Simon, never complain, right? Don't come up with me complaints. All right, Colin, that was well answered. Let's move to the next question. That is, how do you break through when you meet a new clients?
All right. So that also is kind of like near and dear to my heart. As folks know who listen to the show, and you know quite well, I coach a lot of salespeople. I coach a lot of sales executives. I coach a lot of entrepreneurs. And one of the things they're always asking me is, I'd like to break through to this person, or I'd like to meet this person, or I can't get in to see this person. And so how do I do that? And if you all remember, we had, I believe it was episode 24, we had Michael Zhang on the show. And he said two things, which I thought were really, really good as it relates to that topic, is research them. I know that sounds like, oh, really? Like I always research my people, but he does this in-depth research. He doesn't just Google them. He doesn't just look on their LinkedIn. He doesn't just look at their website. He takes a full 360 view on everything he can that everything he can to learn as much as he can about them. And then once he does that, that's one, is he does his research. He takes about 5 to 7 minutes per person that he's trying to meet. Then he takes one or two nuggets from that research, and then he sends them something personal about something something personal to them about the research he's done. For example, he met a client or had known about a client, was looking to meet that client live, and understood that that client had a large passion for a specific charity. Mike learned that through lots of research. Mike made a donation to that charity and let him know that one of the ways that he's looking to make an impact in life is by investing in the the businesses or the charities or the movements that his clients are interested in. And so in that name, he made an investment in that charity. He immediately took the call, and that person has now become a client. Research and personalization of the outreach is really what's working today.
Wow, that was on the spot. And for folks who don't know where are these podcasts, you can go ahead and find it on developingthenextleaders.com/podcast. You can find all the podcasts are archived over there. So Colin, you've been answering all the questions all under 90 seconds. Now let's move to the next one. It's going to be a little challenging, and that is what problem with clients arise and how best to solve them.
Right. And there, that's inevitable. Eventually a mistake's going to be made either by you or by your company when working with the client. And then even sometimes, Simon, like the person, your client themselves, make the mistake and they still want you to fix it. Like it's their mistake, but they want you to fix it. So that
Tell me about it, my boss and
right,
me.
Right. Was that a shot at me, Simon, saying
No.
No. Yes, like I said, you're a ninja, you do all things so wonderfully for us. So, but yeah, maybe two things to share, and this comes from the episode we just posted. This episode on LinkedIn as well as from Tim Malone. Tim Malone, if you remember, he served the United States for like 23 years. He was in the military. He was a pilot, and he's a heck of a guy. I've known him all my life. He's leading a sales organization called Pilot, and so he says problems arise all the time when working with clients or potential clients. And he says, the one thing I've realized is that the best relationships that I have come from troublesome situations. Like I've had a client who's had a service issue. I've dealt with the service issue as amazingly as I possibly could. They felt that way. They felt like I did everything I could on their behalf, and the best relationships have flourished from that. So the first thing he said is when you do have a problem, remember, it's an amazing opportunity to really create and strengthen relationships. That was the first thing. The second thing, and ready for this one, Simon? I thought this was so good. He said, I asked them two things. One is, what is the ideal outcome of this scenario? And he lets them answer just to make sure they don't have outsized or outrageous expectations. He has to set the expectations, but he doesn't want to set the expectations. He wants them to do it and then work from there. That's one. And then two is he says, how would you like me to keep you in the loop as we work together to solve this problem? How good is that? How would you like us to do it? And then how often you want us to keep communicating with you throughout the process? And then he executes on that. And he says relationships flourish through problems. He says, I see every problem we have with the client or every service issue we have with the client as a major opportunity. Great one. I lost you. I can't hear you.
No, just checking if you can read my lips, but never mind. But relationships are very important, Colin. I'm 100% with you, right? Also, when we work with the clients, we need to make sure we understand what are their needs. But sometimes, Colin, you get to work with a lot of clients. So my next question comes from there: that how do you show true interest when you're working with clients or prospect?
There's a lot of answers to this. I'm going to go to Christopher Fu, Chris Fu. He was episode, do you remember that 25, I believe? Yeah, he was 25. Yeah. Anyway, Chris Fu was on the podcast. He's a wealth advisor out on the West Coast in the United States. He's out in California. And he launched his business in one of the worst markets we've seen, like 2008, when the whole global crisis was happening and the credit crisis and things were really, really, really bad. And he said, the easiest way to describe how I grew my business, the easiest way to explain what happened where I went from like no clients to a lot of clients is, he said, I fully listened to every one of the people I was talking to in three different places. When they ask the question, I let them fully ask the question. In other words, many times people start asking a question and someone starts answering it before they get done asking it. He said, I let everyone finish every question they ask. That's one. Two is he said, people love to tell their story. People love to tell like where they came from and how they got the money that they have, or how they've grown to the successful person they've had, or the struggles they've gone through. And he said he would simply just ask people, tell me a little bit about your story. Tell me about who you are. And he would listen to that so intently. And then the third thing is sometimes people just want to be heard as it relates to their knowledge in a specific field. So if you're selling technology products, financial products, whatever it happens to be, he would ask them, what's your experience with this product, or what's your experience in this industry, or what's your experience with using these tools? And he said, once I asked that question, people wanted to share their knowledge. And he said, I listened fully and intently all the way through. I never interrupted anybody. And over time, people love listeners. People love people who are interested. And so that's what Chris figured out. And that enabled him to show that true interest in these clients and prospects, and ultimately strengthen relationships with clients and turn prospects into clients. People want to be heard fully. He did that. He had the patience to listen all the way through. And so the answer to that one is, how do you show true interest? Listen patiently and carefully.
Wow, that's one statement I would like to take from there. Like, people like to be heard, right? So listen them, right? So I think that's very important, and I would take it from there. So now, Colin, we have learned how to do have some backgrounds, right? Go ahead and learn about your client's background. We've also learned how relationship is very important, and we also know how to go and show interest. Now the final stage is, how do we make our clients commit? Now that's very challenging, right?
Oh man, like how do you help them take the next step, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna. This was our most recent. Was Mike Hemmert our most recent podcast? Was that our last one? Mike Hemmert.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from Asset Matt. Mike Hemmert had an expression. By the way, it's an old sales expression, and he said, if I'm looking to get someone to commit to something, there we go. Yeah, that's Mike. If I'm looking to get someone to commit to something, I always begin with the end in mind. Again, that's that old expression. I always begin with the end in mind. Okay, what he meant by that is he'll say to someone, if you were going to put this in place, when would you do it? And then Simon, they'll answer. They'll say, well, if I was I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm not committing to anything. But if I was going to do it, I probably wouldn't be able to do it until June of 2023. Mm-hmm. Okay, so like June of 2023, what would the process look like from June of 2023 from there to like now? Like, what steps would it take to actually make that happen? He starts taking people through the steps. They start walking them through the steps. He never even they didn't even know he was trying to close them. He never even got them. He never even knew that he was trying to get them to commit. Yet they were committing to all the steps to ultimately get the things implemented. He sells software programs. I thought it was great. Simon is like, just ask people, if you were going to do something, what would it look like? And then let them start telling you the steps. They start telling you the steps. You start taking notes, and then you help them take those steps and ultimately get them to commit. And I thought that was great from Mike Hemmert and Asset Matt.
Wow, Colin, that was absolutely great. You answered all the questions so very nicely, and I think you just summarized all the last 3 to 4 episodes that we have done, and there's some really good takeaways to take from this podcast. Any file that you want to plug in before we end the podcast today, a special episode?
Well, I do know we our next 4 shows, the next 3 shows are spoken for, but we are always looking for guests, always looking for amazing guests to talk about wonderful ways to sell better and communicate with clients more effectively. So that would be one thing. Second thing is, thank you for the wonderful questions you asked. And again, if you want one of those t-shirts, reach out to Simon or I, and we'll make sure to take good care of you. Good selling, everyone.
I wanted to do it.
Do it, Simon.
I always wanted to do it. Thank you so much, Colin, for your time today. It was lovely hosting you, and good selling, everyone.